My name is Allison Tamer. I am the State Value Management Engineer, and I'm very thrilled to be here moderating this session for you today. Our presenters this is the Building Smarter, where value engineering turns ideas into impact. So if you're in the wrong one, you can go ahead and go now. But our presenters are my value management team, which again, I'm very proud of and excited that they're here. You're going to be hearing from Josh Reeves, Liam Hogan Rivera, and Zach McLaughlin. And so please join me in welcoming our presenters.
Good morning. Who's excited to be here? All right. How many people in here have ever took part in a value engineering study? Awesome, great. Well, you're going to get a refresher, and we're going to participate in another one today. So, like Allison introduced a moment ago, I'm Josh Reeves. I'm with Value Management. Here's the rest of our team. Well, let's just do it. Here we go. Here we go. So we have Allison Tamer, the State Value Management Engineer. Myself, Josh Reeves. I'm responsible for value engineering studies and risk management. Zach McLaughlin handles constructability reviews, value engineering proposals, and post-construction assessment. Liam Hogan Rivera, she is the CLEAR Program Manager and Quality Management. Sarah Searcy is the CLEAR Program, Innovation Program, and NCDOT. So, here we are, Value Engineering Program. Before we get started into the details of a VE study, let's look at what value engineering is. Value engineering is an organized, one second. Value engineering is an organized application of common sense and technical knowledge directed at finding and developing alternative ideas that can optimize the cost and performance of a project. In other words, we add value to the project. Improved costs may include lower initial construction cost or lower reoccurring maintenance cost. Also, improved performance may include improved schedule, construction methods, environmental awareness, safety, or quality. Although it may be tempted to think of VE as simply good engineering or as a routine cost-cutting exercise, it's not. While VE reduces costs, it does not sacrifice essential function. Typically, exercise strictly looking to cut costs do so regardless of how the exercise affects the product. A VE study takes an independent approach to the project with the specific objective of determining a project's essential functions, then identifying design alternatives that provide the required function at a lower overall cost. It is the arrangement and application of these steps coupled with the use of creative techniques at the appropriate time which sets VE apart from other problem-solving or cost-cutting techniques. Also, having a VE process in place is not meant to suggest a lack of confidence in the original design team. Designers should not feel that an accepted VE recommendation reflects poorly on them. NCDOT recognizes that taking a look at a project and taking a step back, you'll get a different perspective, and that's a good thing. That allows us to see opportunities and make changes. So when looking at a VE study is required, the delivery method of the project makes a difference. A VE study is required for design bid build or CMGC projects meeting certain criteria. Design build projects do not require a formal VE study, but it could be beneficial, especially on complex projects. On a design build project, the VE study, if requested, should be done before the request for proposal is published. And back to design build and CMGC projects, state DOTs are required to conduct a minimum of one VE study on projects that are federally funded, that are intersecting with the national highway system in excess of $50 million for highway projects or $40 million for projects that have a structure. So when FHWA refers to the total cost of a project, the amount includes preliminary engineering, right-of-way, utilities, and construction, no matter the source of funding. Additionally, projects set together are considered for one project for the state of these funding thresholds. So an example of that would be if a $25 million resurfacing project was let with a $30 million bridge replacement on the same route. These projects would be considered for the purposes of the federal VE requirements as if it was a single $55 million project. The federal regulations also spell out that projects containing a bridge or a structure require a VE study at the lower $40 million threshold. So these two projects being combined together would require a VE study. And that would be a whole nother can of worms, because how are you going to do anything different with some resurfacing, right? I mean, it's pretty much a cut and dried thing. But that's where we would be. So now that you know which projects qualify, when should a VE study be conducted? The potential for the greatest savings is during the planning and early design phase of a project. That normally happens around 25% plans. Once we have 25% plans, that's the optimal time for a VE study to be done. You can do one later on in the design phase, but you're losing the potential for your greatest savings, because time and there's less likelihood of recommendations moving forward later in the design phase. So who would be involved with the VE study? Value management, we would be involved. Well, we would love to do it with you, right? The PM or the design lead team, they would be involved. And then our VE, our subject matter experts, our participants, they would be involved. The design team, your responsibilities, pre-study. Quarterly, we send out an email with a schedule on it. It would be nice to get feedback if you see something different, let us know. But you also would be required to attend a pre-study meeting or a call to prepare. And during the study, you would attend the information phase, and you're going to present background information on your project. And then after the study is complete, once those recommendations and stuff are back to you, you have 60 days to review and sign off on the final dispositions. And then after the study, 1 to 2 months before let, we'll actually go back and sign off on the implementation check to make sure the ideas that we move forward from our study were actually implemented into the project. So here are the 7 phases of a VE study. We have the information phase, the function analysis phase, the creative phase, the evaluation phase, the development phase, the presentation phase, and the resolution phase. Earlier, when I asked you guys to raise your hands if you'd been involved in a VE study, a lot of hands went up. In a moment, we're going to look at a project that we did a study on in-house, and there's a couple recommendations. I want to see how the group themselves would vote to move those forward. We'll look at that in just a moment. The first 5 phases are applied during the study, and these are the phases that the PM would be included in the study. In the information phase, the project team lead or the project manager would be involved in these 3 phases. The first one is the information phase during the study. The other 2 would be after the VE study, which would be the presentation phase and the resolution phase. So here's an example of our form, right? Here's the form with the boxes that need to be filled out after the VE study and sent to the project manager for their evaluation and response. As you can see, on the left here, we have the project details. That's the first section. In this section, all the general project information will be in this section, such as the project number, location, the project cost, the description of the project, and so on. In the second section, the recommendation will be provided, and the applicable disciplines who should be involved on the recommendations, and what plan sheet this recommendation affects. That's always good information. The third section contains the cost analysis or potential cost savings. These 3 sections will be filled out by the value management team or the consultant team performing the study. After the completion, it will be sent out to the project manager for review and comments from the project manager and the design team. The other 2 sections are conceptual review sections and summary sections, which we will explain in the following slides. Here's an example of the completed form. The second page you can see on the right-hand side should be completed by the project manager or the design firm. On the conceptual review section, section 4 of this form, the project manager can gather comments from applicable disciplines under units included from the design firm if applicable. After reviewing the comments, the PM can provide his or her feedback and record the decision in section 5 of the summary form on this form. To complete the VE study, the implementation part in section 5 must be filled out. And Value Management Office will inform the project manager when this is supposed to be accomplished. If you have a project that is close to let and this section is not complete, please contact Value Management and let us know. So now we're into the resolution phase. The implementation check occurs at 100% plans. The project manager will provide documentation such as plan sheets, cross sections, and recommendations. Recommendations that have been accepted or accepted as modified to verify that the recommendation has been incorporated into the design sheet. In some cases, a recommendation that was rejected will end up ultimately being incorporated into the final design. We recommend checking to make sure anything that was rejected is also at the implementation check to ensure that those have officially been rejected. At the end of the project, the project manager will sign off on the implementation section as mentioned on the previous slide. Value Management Office will verify the recommendations have been implemented into the final plan set and will sign off as well. So now, this is an actual VE study that we performed in-house. It's project B5674, and let's look at it here. This is the project description. Earlier we talked about the information phase. This is the information that we got this is the project description. Next we'll talk about the information phase. This is the project description. It replaces bridges 310080 northbound and 310083 southbound, located on US 15 and US 501 south, crossing West Cornwallis Road in Durham County with a single bridge. The proposed structure will be approximately 82 feet long, 12-foot travel lanes, 12-foot 3-inch inside shoulders, and a 22-foot outside shoulder. That's to accommodate a future 12-foot travel lane. And there are vertical abutment walls. And here is our site map. You can see where the project is located at. Here are the project considerations that I mentioned that the project manager gave us during the information phase. So there is a possibility of increasing US 15-501 to 6 lanes in the future. The potential CLOMR due to anticipated rise caused by the culvert extension on both ends. The Duke Lamore Center is located off Ramp A. Redesigned ramp alignment for a new apartment complex to minimize impacts. Also, there was a cell phone tower. We need to avoid the cell phone tower. The proposed retaining walls to remove impacts to residents to accommodate future third lanes. No plans to widen travel lanes on Cornwallis, and there was a greenway expected to be added along Cornwallis. This is an actual photo of the bridges to be replaced from Google Street Images 2025. So here are 2 of the recommendations. All right. Now, everybody's got to pay attention. You're going to vote on this, okay? Here we go. So the first recommendation was a drainage recommendation, and it was a reduced need to extend the culvert with walls and a moment slab. So the advantages are no CLOMR needed and a design schedule savings. The disadvantages are obviously added construction cost. Now we also have a roadway idea right here, so let's look at it. So on roadway, they wanted to shift the alignment east. And the advantages to that were that the ramp grades work better and could tie in with no design exception and possibly prior to the culvert extension. The disadvantages, redoing the entire design project and right-of-way impacts to do. So these are our two proposals, and these two proposals have already been voted on and it's already settled, but I just want to know what would happen if this room was in that room at the time. How would we vote? So if it's a 1 and we want to move forward with that idea, I'm sorry, I walked away. If it's a 1 and we want to move forward with that idea, you're going to raise your hand. So for drainage, for the drainage recommendation, who in this room would like to move that recommendation forward in this pretend study? Okay. All right. A negative ones, we're not going to move forward with it. Let's see those hands right quick. Okay, good. All right, and now the roadway, to shift the alignment east. I mean, I hear some good benefits here, but what do you guys think? Are we going to go forward with that idea? Who is a 1? Let's move forward with that idea. We have a couple. Who is a negative 1? We're not going to redo that idea. Okay, listen guys, you all are perfect. I just let you know. You guys did wonderful. Because as you can see, we actually did move forward with the drainage recommendation and we did not with the roadway recommendation. So now let's talk about risk management. Who's excited? Risk is risky, right? Let's be excited. So we're going to discuss risk management for a moment. We should have a mindset that is risk conscious, but it might help if we have an understanding what risk is and why we should track it. With that in mind, we will discuss what risk is, why it is important to track and manage, as well as resources that Value Management Office has put together on our website to help you and your project team track risk. That's Value Management's website. Value Management's website. Did y'all hear me? I'm just making sure. But it's on our website. So what is risk? Risk is an uncertain event that could positively or negatively affect a project. It is a possibility that has not happened yet. It is either known, unknown, or unknowable to the project team. An example of an unknowable risk would be a natural disaster. I think we know a little bit about that, Western North Carolina, right? That's a very hard thing to prepare for. But yeah, that's a good example is a natural disaster. A known risk is a concern that could happen that has already been communicated amongst the project team. An unknown risk is an event that should be identified by one or more of the project team, but has not been communicated amongst the team. That brings us to an important point to discuss. Communication is key. Communication is important, right? If we don't share information, then you don't know. And if I know this and you know that and we're not sharing together, that's not going to work out well. So communication is key. That's our biggest risk, is our failure to communicate. Whether interacting with stakeholders or across technical disciplines, project risks are discovered when all members of the project team are open and engaged. So why is capturing risk important to the project? First of all, it reduces uncertainty. Secondly, it improves communication. Third, it identifies ownership. If you're using our worksheet that you'll see in a moment, as a project manager, you're assigning risk to someone. And that person also has a frequency to which they are going to update this register. They're going to look at the risk and they're going to say, okay, that's changed. It's not as risky now. It's not as big a threat now. Or, hey, this is really ramping up. We're going to have to do something right here. So that it identifies ownership and it improves continuity. The risk management process promoted by NCDOT Value Management Office consists of several steps, starting with a plan to capture risk. We have provided tools on our website. That's Value Management's website. We've provided tools on our website that makes tracking risk manageable, Having a plan to keep project teams on the same page sets expectations. The second step is identifying the likely events that threaten or provide opportunity to your project. The risks should be written down in an organized register. Value management's website, an organized register, okay? It should be tracked. Each risk should be assessed for impact and probability. Impact is the magnitude of positive or negatively effect on a project. Probability is the likelihood of that risk happening to the project. Taken together, those can be quantified, and you can assign a value to each risk. The risk response is a recorded strategy identifying how the project team has decided to respond to the risk. The strategy should include a risk owner who is tasked with updating the strategy as the project moves forward. The last step in this process is monitoring and control. As the project moves through the various stages, risks can change and their probability and impact. The project team should be keeping up with these changes by regularly looking over the risk register or worksheet and updating as needed. This part of the process should be done continuously throughout the life of the project, and can lead the team to go back through any or all steps. I mean, there's times when you're going to have to back up and look at things again, and it's going to take some time, but there's so many more advantages to actually capturing risk and opportunities, right? So it's a big deal, guys. It's a good thing. Our value management office has the RAW, is an online register that is attached to each project in pre-construction that has a Connect site. This product allows the risk process to be recorded in a central location that can be accessed by the entire project team. It's always attached to the project without the need to download a hard copy or upload every update. So here it is. You can see the online RAW is live on Connect pre-construction, and you can find this on your pre-construction dashboard for your project. I have an example. Going back to the in-house VE study, this is the RAW sheet that we used in that study to identify some risk. As you can see, it's not completed because the project manager the project manager would assign someone on their team to monitor that risk, to track that risk, and the date, how often they want that risk updated, how often you want that register to be updated to reflect those risks. A few of the things that we thought the project should be monitored were long-range planning, environmental, regulatory, organizational risk, project management, environmental or external risks, right-of-way utilities, technical procurement, construction and constructability. That's all my time for today, guys. Thank you guys for listening. I've enjoyed it. Here's Zach McLaughlin, and he's gonna continue on here.
All right, how's everybody doing? I got a question. How many of you have been a part of a constructability review with DOT? Okay. Out of those hands, how many people have found benefit in it? Good. That's what I want to hear. So for those who don't know what a constructability review is, that's what they look like right there. Okay. So you at least have a good time. So a constructability review translates design intent into construction reality, testing whether the project can be built safely, efficiently, and under real-world conditions. So what are we looking at? We're looking at buildability, construction method, site constraints, material and specifications, schedule realism. We heard yesterday that DOT is going to start looking at schedules and the delivery process, and constructability can help with that. So what does a constructability review look like outside of that picture I just showed you? So we like to have a constructability review around 15 to 95% design plans, but we found the sweet spot to be 65%. We have enough information to make good recommendations, but we're not far enough along where those recommendations can be implemented. And where we have it, well, it's a 2-hour in-person meeting as close to the site as possible, if not on-site. And this is to give all the participants a chance to see the site in real life and not on a screen. It helps to get a feel for what we're working with and make recommendations that fit the field conditions. And so who's involved? Value management is involved. We're there to facilitate the meeting and take meeting minutes. The contractor, so we work with the AGC's office to get qualified contractors in that area to volunteer their time to the meeting. This does not disqualify them from actually bidding on that particular project. Also, the designers are there, so the designers who design the project, and also some from DOT, and then the DOT engineers from construction, different technical units, and even maintenance are there. We're there to look at potential field issues and provide collaboration between design and construction, provide contractor input on the design, identify potential cost savings and mitigate strategies. Some things that we will not talk about, we're not going to talk about any specialty equipment or anything that would disqualify other contractors from being able to bid on that particular project. And so it starts with a conversation. The project management team and the designers identify constructability issues. We then measure and share those ideas. We follow through on tracking, and hopefully we're creating a better project. And so how do we track those ideas? Right now, we're piloting a new form for constructability reviews. This form will help us to have a clearer understanding of the recommendations that were made and help track their implementation. This form gives us the ability to see clearly what the original design is calling for, also showing what those recommendations would affect, and it also gives us an understanding of what disciplines may be affected by those recommendations. This also is going to help. So at the AGC's conference last week, I talked to a few contractors, and they're volunteering their time, and some of the frustration is they are actually go to the constructability review, they make recommendations, and they're awarded a contract, and none of the recommendations that they saw were actually implemented. Some recommendations could cause different things to happen. So maybe it's not, hey, they recommended A and A happened. Maybe A caused C to happen, right? But they want to see that. And their heartburn is, hey, we volunteered our time. These recommendations were implemented. Why? And so this form is going to help us when the project is completed. Then we can go back to the project management team and say, we had 10 recommendations. Here's the form. Were they implemented? If they weren't, then why not? Then we can go back to the contractors and give that information, that feedback. And so hopefully in doing that, they get a better understanding of why the design is the way it was, but also helps the constructability program in a whole. So when they do volunteer their time, then they have that knowledge. So how are we doing? In 24, we had 15 constructability reviews. In 25, we had 8. We usually average about 12 a year. We're hoping to increase that. And so hopefully designers that are in here, project managers, if you have those issues, contact value management so we can get that process started. And so everybody raised their hand in here. You're probably different disciplines, different departments. So we have an evaluation form at the end of our constructability reviews. 1 is you did absolutely horrible, it's a waste of time, don't do it. 5 is we're doing good. So we're about at 4.65. Some of the comments, good meeting, brought up a lot of concerns. We had contractors saying that it was worth their time. Division construction engineer saying great information. And then designers saying great information shared by the contractor. So as you can see by the hands in here and some of the comments, everybody is getting something out of that constructability review. There's a QR code here that you can scan, and they'll take you to the website so you can learn more about the constructability review. We do have 2 constructability reviews, formal and informal, and I just want to touch on what those are. So an informal constructability review is going to be usually on teams, and it's not going to have the contractors. So maybe your division construction folks, some of your designers out of the Raleigh, and then the designers that are designing the project itself would be on this meeting to talk about constructability review. The formal one is where value management is going to reach out to the AGCs and get the contractor to actually volunteer their time. It's in person and it's on site. So the difference is you're not getting that contractor's perspective for the informal one, but those also can be good at the early stages. A post-construction assessment. Again, I want to see some more hands. Who has been a part of a post-construction assessment with DOT? Okay. And out of those 3 hands that I saw, how many found a benefit in it? All right, good. So this is new to the majority of the room, unless you're scared to raise your hand. So we kicked off the PCA in 2021, and a post-construction assessment is a knowledge-sharing meeting about a specific project between DOT, personnel, contractors, designers, and maintenance. A PCA request form can be submitted by anyone involved on the project, and then value management will take over and coordinate that meeting. It is a 2-hour Teams meeting involving all the stakeholders in that particular project. So we've had 40 since 2021, and out of those 40, we've had over 250 identified best practices and lessons learned. So one of the wins that we like to highlight is in 21. There was a discussion on subsurface median drainage on the western part of the state. And it turns out that many mountain projects were having issues with the median drainage and water running over the roadway and icing. Possible solutions for this issue were discussed among the technical group formed called a technical advisory group, which you've heard about, and it's in the CLEAR database. Other experts were involved in continued discussions, and quarterly meetings were held to discuss that topic. A new standard drawing was created for raised median roadway and roundabouts and was implemented in the 2024 standard specification. This is just one example of how lessons learned, identified through a PCA and entered into the CLEAR portal, and then went through our workflow utilizing experts, was regularly discussed in a reoccurring TAG, Technical Advisory Group meeting, to finally be implemented change over time. So what projects are eligible? Any. Projects should be substantially complete. You need a collaborative construction team. So that would be your contract administrative team and your contractors. You want them to get along so they volunteer their time. And then no outstanding claims or supplement agreements. We're not there to argue or point fingers. This is not a closeout conference. This is a sharing of ideas. We're also, I lost my train of thought. Next slide. So where do those lessons learned and best practices go? They go into our CLEAR portal, which Liam would discuss shortly. If you want to you request a PCA, you can email CLEAR or just myself or even value management. We coordinate and facilitate the meeting. The RE's office provides pictures and lessons learned and best practices. So what we do is we reach out to the RE, we give them a PowerPoint, a skeleton PowerPoint, and they get with the contractor to discuss what lessons learned and best practices they feel comfortable discussing. And then we put that in just for a visual aid during the meeting. And then we have a meeting. So let's talk about some projects that we had a PCA on. This project right here was a bridge replacement over on NC11 in Division 3. It was let in 21, $2.9 million. ST Wooten was the prime. ST Wooten was the bridge sub, and design plans was Mott McDonald. And so what were the challenges? And the note said, different than most large areas of concrete, some in the water caused major time issues with removing the material. Now, not all demos of bridge are the same. And sometimes when we design projects, we'll say, oh, it's just demo. It's all the same. Well, in this particular project, the contractor had issues with that. And their recommendation was they would have liked to see more information, would have helped them with clarity on what they needed to do to avoid the need for claims and supplemental agreements. So this just shows you a bridge replacement project that seems pretty standard, and demo is pretty standard. There maybe needed some more information. Maybe the designers had it, project management team had it, or maybe they didn't. But a PCA would shine light on that and share those ideas. Another project we had a PCA on, it was originally constructed in the 1960s. The interchange currently sees 70,000 vehicles per day. 130 vehicles per day was projected in 2035. It was completed in 24, and it was $297 million. So the project highlights, it was widening a Broad Street. You were replacing bridge over on US 64, replacing a bridge on I-77, and then you were widening the bridge on I-40. So that's the aerial picture of the actual project itself. So you can see there was a lot going on with this project. And for this project, we had, 9 lessons learned and 6 best practices. And I want to share one best practice that I think highlights the importance of a PCA for everyone who attends. So the contractor on this project utilized our Value Engineering Proposal Program. How many know what that is? Okay. So the Value Engineering Proposal Program gives the contractor a chance to submit an idea that would save money for a project. If the idea is accepted, the contractor and the DOT will split the savings 50-50. Now, like Josh said with the value engineering study, having the value engineering process in place is not meant to suggest a lack in confidence in the original design of the project. And we just recognize that the contractor simply has specialized skill sets and other competitive advantages that would allow for a more effective building method. In the case of this project, the contractor utilized their experience to identify some cost savings, which resulted in 3 approved VEPs. So the first one was they eliminated the 3-inch B25C as a drainage layer underneath the concrete pavement and replaced it with the non-woven drainage interlayer. And that cost savings was $810,000. And on a project that big, that's, any savings helps. VEP2 was a cost savings of $342,000, and then VEP3, they eliminated the full depth reconstruction of asphalt along a portion of I-77, and it also eliminated the weekend lane closures. And that resulted in $142,000 in savings, and we split that 50-50 with the contractor. So why is that important, and what was the best practice? The best practice was complete VEPs on projects throughout the life cycle to identify cost savings measures at different phases of a project. This best practice shows that contractors are utilizing their experience to identify cost savings not just in one phase of a project, but breaking it up and reviewing it piece by piece to find the savings. The PCA gave the designers the opportunity to see what changes were made during construction. The VEPs are not always shared with the original design firm who designed the project. So there may be VEPs and changes to the design during construction that you guys never even know about. So if you have a PCA, this gives you insight to some of the changes that were made during construction. Projects start in design and are completed in constructions. They're maintained in maintenance. Allow the PCA to close that loop on a project to improve our delivery process by uncovering lessons, improving future performance, and sharing ideas during a 2-hour Teams meeting that you can do from your office or they can do from the field. So what happens to those best practices and lessons learned? They go into our Clear portal. Subject matter experts review them. We share those ideas, we implement them, and we accept submissions, and they are searchable. And that's where I'm going to pass it over to Liam, and she can explain more about that process. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so again, I'm Liam Sy Hogan. Liam for short is fine, and I am the program manager for CLEAR. So we're going to get a little bit into what is CLEAR and how is knowledge collected, what happens to it, and why is it stored. Okay, so CLEAR stands for Communicate Lessons, Exchange Advice, and Record. CLEAR is an internally developed knowledge management program. It gives everyone across NCDOT the opportunity to share their opinions, experiences, and it promotes cross-unit communication. It, as you can see with Zach covered, it gives the opportunity to gather best practices, lessons learned, and sometimes request some solutions needed. Okay, so let's get a little bit into knowledge management. So what exactly is knowledge management? Knowledge management is the opportunity to collect information, to organize that information, and to successfully share it across the unit. It also gives us an opportunity to avoid some of those feedback loops and communicate effectively and efficiently to make sure that projects can get across that goal line in the best way possible. Okay, so a little bit about what we do with the Clear knowledge management portion. So you can see that we, of course, capture that knowledge, as I said before, and the example that Zach also covered were some of those post-construction assessments. And some of you may have also heard about knowledge transfer guides, and those are great opportunities. As we can see, every year we have some retirees that have a lot of information over those 30 plus years that they have been with the department, and we don't want to lose that valuable information. We don't want to see that walk out the door. So these knowledge transfer guides gives us the opportunity to collect that information, to store it, and then use it for the future of NCDOT employees. You also heard a little bit about technical advisory groups. Those technical advisory groups, which is also called a TAG, they're a group of experts that come together and have meetings so that they can have that cross communication and to make sure sometimes things that are happening in one unit flows properly into the next unit so that we can also make sure projects have the best chance. And then lunch and learns, which I love so much. If you've ever, has anyone here actually joined a lunch and learn or participated in a lunch and learn? Yay! This is great. Okay, so as you know, we put together lunch and learns. My goal has also been to at least have one a month. If you don't know, we have one coming up next week on the 25th, and that is going to be on the right-of-way preliminary cost estimation tool. So we have a lot of people that have registered. If you have not registered, please do so. I've seen a little preview, and it's definitely valuable information. So the Lunch and Learn is also an opportunity for knowledge sharing. And then one thing I'm also excited about is our knowledge repertory, because what is information if it's not stored properly and accessed easily throughout the department? So we have our Clear database. It's not new, but it's the newest that we've just completed. A few weeks ago, we launched it. So it does have a lot more easier access to it. So I'll get into a little bit of that now. So this goes over a little bit about that database. So our information is online. We do have the database. It is searchable and it is easier to access. So what did the previous state look like? So this is a little bit about what it looked like prior to some of the updates that we have done so far. And as you can see right here on the left-hand side, that Clear Lesson Learned was one form, and now in the data, well, it's actually separate forms. So if you were submitting a lesson learned, you would do one form. If you had a best practice, it would be a separate form, and then solution needed would be a complete separate form. But here, one of the great things that we did improve on was putting that into one form to make that easier to manage. So here are some of the changes that are now current in that database. So you'll see that we no longer have the field name, data observed, location is no longer applicable, solution to solve the problem, project size is not required, project schedule is not required. So we removed some of the items and kind of condensed it down a little bit to make sure that we were having easier access. So you'll see that there are no longer tabs. The new form, there weren't tabs prior, but the new form now has tabs to easier organize that information. And you'll see some of the tabs shortly. But this is the new view. This is the Clear submission summary page. And once a submission is entered, this is where we're able to see, what the status of it is, what type of submission it is, whether it's a lesson learned, best practice, or a solution requested. And then we also see the submission title, what that functional area, when it was created. So these are all things to easier organize that data once it's entered. So one of the other awesome things about this new database is our search aspect of CLEAR. And in the search aspect, again, I mentioned what is information if it's not easy to access. So this gives us the opportunity to be able to filter easier. It gives a word search box. And what's great about this word search box, you don't have to have the exact phrase, but you can put certain words or specific words. So it gives it a little bit wider of a range to search. And then you'll see some submission type filters. So if you're curious or looking for information on a best practice at a specific location, you're able to put that in there as well. And then you'll have cost range filters. So we pretty much made it very, very easy for you to find what you're looking for. And that can be narrowing it down to specifics. Or if you want a wide range of information, you can also search for that as well. So this is what that CLEAR database search page looks like, and I'll also do a little demo at the end so that we can kind of see, how beneficial it is. Okay, so what happens when you make a submission into the CLEAR database? So it goes through this workflow, so you would submit either lessons learned, best practice, or solutions needed. And then that submission will then go to a gatekeeper. I'm a gatekeeper, Allison's a gatekeeper. So we have some consultants that also help with this as well. So it will go to that gatekeeper. The gatekeeper will then act on that submission by sending it over to an expert. And that expert panel will then review it, and either they will request additional information, and then we can also request that additional information where you can revise your submission, or it can just be accepted or rejected. So if it's accepted by that expert, it would then go back to the gatekeeper, and then it would be posted on that CLEAR portal for your peers to see. So these, I'm going to get a little bit into the tabs that you'll actually see when you go to put a submission into the database. So you'll see a Share Your Knowledge tab, a Project Related Information tab, and Next Steps. So on the Share Your Knowledge tab, this gives you the opportunity to put a title for your submission, and then you'll describe your lessons learned, your best practice, or your solution needed. And then you would select a functional area. So I think this part is very important to kind of hone in on, because selecting that functional area, as you've seen in the workflow prior to this, your submission goes to a specific expert. This functional area selection then goes to a subgroup selection, and that makes sure that we get your submission to the right hands, to the right expert, so that the right eyes can be put on it. And then at the bottom, you'll also see that you can add additional documentation, which is very helpful. Sometimes you may have pictures or PDFs, and this is where you would add those. And then here's our next project-related information. So here's if your submission is related to a project, you have the opportunity to select and toggle off the yes or no, because sometimes your submission may not be project-related. So it's not required, but if it is, this is where you'll put like the tip number for the project and any other valuable information specifically related to that project. And then on this final tab here is where you would let us know how you imagine your submission being handled or implemented. And then you would also give us the opportunity to allow you to be included in the implementation and the development of your submission. Okay, so a little bit about the expert panel. So the expert panel is pretty much someone they have been selected, and there's someone in that applicable discipline that is very knowledgeable, so that if your submission is sent to them, they can look at it and give the best advice. So they are responsible for reviewing your submission. They provide feedback and help institute changes, and also provide guidance. And sometimes they may be a member of that TAG group, which are the Technical Advisory Group. So the applicable disciplines, as I said before, they are selected during your submission, and that's so we know who needs to provide that expert review. And it also helps with that filtering and that search portion of the database. So here are some examples of the disciplines or experts, and this doesn't show every single one, but here are some examples. So if you have a submission that's related to bike and ped, you would select that discipline and it would go to that expert and vice versa. Okay, so why is the CLEAR program database beneficial to you? So it allows you the opportunity to work smarter, not harder. It gives good, quick finds to solutions that someone else may have tested across the state. So we don't want to be doing double the work. We want to make life a little bit easier. So if someone knows, or if you know of a best practice, it's best to get it out there and someone may be able to use it for their project and make things easier for them. And then we learn from statewide, so we can tap into the knowledge because there's knowledge in the West that can be implemented in the East or North to South. So we want to make sure that we're tapping into all the knowledge that's across the state. And it makes for better time saving. So sometimes it can cut that time down, make things faster. We can have better informed decisions. We can strengthen that quality, the consistency across the board, and have that communication and close some of those communication gaps. And then you also have the opportunity to have your voice heard. And I like this point because sometimes this is a great opportunity for you to also enter some of those innovations and those innovative ideas that you may have. Okay, so I have a few QR codes here. So the first one, and I'll go to them so we can see a little demo. But the first one is our CLEAR portal. And the second one is going to be that database. This is where you would submit those best practices, lessons learned, or solutions needed. And then the last one is that search database. And what is a little exciting, I'm actually going to search the PCA that Zach spoke about so we can kind of see what some of those inputs were. So let me go ahead and click here. Okay, perfect. So this is our CLEAR portal, and on this portal, you'll get some great information. You can see here the link to the database here if you did want to create a submission, and our email here. So as we scroll down, you'll see the link here for the submission as well. Any training would be posted here, and we're still working through a lot of the website and a couple of feedback that we've gotten from the submission form as well. So all of this is coming soon. A lot of it is. And this is our search database here. So right here we'll see, just in case you're curious and you're going to create a submission, you can, and you're not sure whether it's a best practice, lesson learned, solution needed, we do have a definition of each. And some highlights. So I thought this part was really cool because these are some submissions that were entered into the database, and you can scroll through and see what some of those highlights are. So you also have the opportunity to have your submission highlighted on the website as well. And then you can also see some of the progress we've made, some of the accepted best practices, 324, and some of the accepted lessons learned, 255. So these are all great, but we would love a lot more. So if you have information or anything that you know would help someone else, this would be a great place to put it. So now I'll go a little bit into the search. So this is what our search page looks like. And we're going to actually go ahead and try to search. So oh, it looks like the battery is dying on the laptop. Okay, so this is from Zach's. Oh no. I think we can get through it though. Isn't that it? Yeah, I think that worked. Awesome.
We can handle anything, Joe.
Okay, so this is Zach's PCA that he mentioned. So you can see, I can't make it huge for some reason, but here you'll see that it's a clear lesson learned. So you'll see the ID, and it has clear LL for lessons learned. So when you're searching, you'll also see the title. So we have the B5639 hydro seeding. So we'll have a short description, hydro seeding supplemental agreement. The hydro seeding was necessary due to the lack of permanent vegetation establishment throughout the project. And we see, of course, again, that's a lesson learned. The functional area selected was highway, so that would then go to the highway expert. And it's from Division 3. You'll see the date that it was created in 2024, which is what he told us about his PCA. Now, this one has about 12 matching results, so you'll see here. Now, if I was interested in, well, we know that I was very specific about this submission, but if I search something in a wider range, we could then select different functional areas to see which ones it applied to if you were looking for something specific. We could also see the project type. I was actually going to click this next, but the project type and some of that related information. So now once you click a lesson learned or a submission to search, you'll still see that short description, and then you have the option to see some of that more in-depth details. And this is where that information is. So you'll see the lessons learned, and if there are any solutions to solve the problem, the applicable functional area, and then again, that subgroup would be here too. And then here are some of the meetings, the meeting minutes that they also wanted to attach to that submission. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then this would be our submission form. And this is like, you would create a new submission. So that's where you would see those 3 tabs that I covered before. But I'll go back over to our presentation. So now I'll get a little bit into the CLEAR program innovation portion. And it's just a couple of notes and updates I want to give you guys. So we do have the STIC incentive program, and this is the State Transportation Innovation Council incentive program, and they fund activities such as conducting internal assessments, initiating capacity building, developing guidance, drafting standards and specifications. So if you're interested in the STIC, and they're now accepting applications, you can scan that QR code down here. And this is Sarah. So she is one of our helpers that was in our group for a little while. But this is Sarah. She has a lot of the information here. And this is the ICI survey. So if you have a phone, can you scan this QR code and take this survey? We would love to get information on your experience with innovation across the department. And I also have little flyers too, so you can come see me and I can give you a flyer. And then we have the Innovation Challenge. Hopefully you've heard about the Innovation Challenge. I spoke about the Lunch and Learn that we're having next week. They're actually Innovation Challenge winners. So the Innovation Challenge is now accepting submissions through April 27th. So if you have those great innovative ideas, please join the Innovation Challenge if you're interested, of course. And you can also get more information at the CLEAR email. And this is all of our contact information. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for being here. One of the things I will mention, and Derek alluded to this, or he didn't allude to it, he said it yesterday in the general session, but yes, Value Management, we are moving over to a new project support unit in pre-construction, and Sarah Searcy actually in the innovation pieces are going into research, and so she's staying in that OSA, that new OSA office. So we already had all this together because we just found out about these moves last week. So our presentations were already together, and that is why that was there. But are there any questions? Y'all ready for lunch? Okay. So if there are no questions, I will say, I'm going to go ahead and, were there questions? I'm sorry? Oh, yeah.
Is the CLEAR database open to consultants, or is it only NCDOT employees?
Yeah, so the CLEAR database at this particular time is open to people with a DOT email. So if you are an embedded consultant, you can log in. It's on SharePoint. It is through a firewall to get there. We are exploring, we are already looking at CLEAR 2.0 and looking at some adjustments and things that we want to make. And so that is definitely one of the things that we're looking into. If not for the submission pieces, then maybe the searchable pieces and vice versa. So, any other questions? Okay. With that, I will say that lunch is from 11:30 to whenever. And it is in room 1 where we had breakfast. And so again, thank you all for coming and being part of our presentation. And we look forward to connecting with you later. So thank you. I even tried to do a team, I forget, I think it does.